time. Oh my God, I think my hands are. I do think that this should make an appearance. Wanna be.
Actually, Brent can play 2 and 4 on the tambourine.
I have the worst timekeeper. You don't want me on that. Or the shaker in.
It's just that I mean, the mic is pointing at that string.
Right here.
So if you can like put like a little,
Because you know how there's a little time lag?
like use the EQ and put like a little mic right there on that string.
Yeah, that's so funny because I teach
Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm the Reverend Leslie Takahashi, and my pronouns are she and her. You do not have to believe a creed to be comfortable among us, but we would love to talk more with you about the values and beliefs that we covenant to affirm and promote. You can also learn about them on our website if you're visiting us virtually, or talk to some of us after service if the rain stays away. Pretty good with this rain, right? We want rain, but just not right in this moment. So that was good. So please fill out a visitor's card if you're visiting with us, either here on campus at our table behind the name tags, today under our little awning, or online, and we're really grateful to have you with us. Here are some of our highlights from this week. You should have gotten a holiday postcard in the mail. I've got some nods going, yay. And those list all the exciting things that we are just so thrilled to be doing together this year. But we are asking people to register for those events especially so that we can predict what we need to about space and such things. So please do register for that. And we do have our solstice service a week from tonight. Also, we have many ways to help other people during this holiday season. And we hope that you will read the Beacon and the Friday email to learn more about all the ways that we are trying to share the cheer this season. And I will also mention that starting next week on Sunday, we will be requiring vaccination for all indoor spaces. And if you have not yet emailed us your card or had a chance to show it to one of our ministers or Indigo, then please do come by and see me. I will be posted right over there on the patio, probably under something if it's raining. If you have already had a chance to do that, just so you know, you will be getting a sticker on your name tag. Those are being placed on your name tag, so if you have your name tag with you, please leave it here this week. And you will also be getting a little card that allows you to have that in your wallet in case someone loses their name tag. Can you imagine that? Never could happen. So either way, please come see me afterward if you need either of those things. To find out what's happening here, please do go to mduuc.org. One of the best ways is to subscribe to our Friday email, which gives you the events that are coming up in the coming weeks. Please contact me or our intern minister, Michael Macias, if you're in need of a listening ear or financial support during these continued challenging times. Asking is a gift you give to the community, and welcome to this beloved community.
Good morning. I am Sage, a member of your Board of Trustees, and my pronouns are they, them, and theirs. Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church is a welcoming faith community. We begin our services by reading our mission together. Bring to life our Unitarian Universalist values as we seek truth and work for justice, nurture compassion and courage, reach out to each other and to our larger community of faith, bridge the divisions that wound the human family, transform ourselves and our world. Welcome to our service. We are so glad to have you with us, whether you're on campus, on screen, or watching us later in the week. We are continuing to be together and appreciate your consideration as we make spaces that we can include as many people as possible. So please let us mark you as vaccinated, keep masking, and keep registering as it helps us plan. As you know, a COVID surge is predicted after these holidays. Let's all do our part to stay a little more distant so we can have contact with more people over the holidays. Thank you for working to keep our community safe. Please stay connected. In these ever-challenging times, we are here for one another. And welcome. It's good to be together.
May the light of our chalice ignite the holy flame of joy, joy that keeps our purpose warm and our hearts ablaze with justice.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Joe Schellenberg. This month, our Share the Plate contributions go to Shelter, Inc. I'm honored to speak for an organization that has been working tirelessly for 35 years to relieve one of the biggest challenges of our community, homelessness. I think one of the best ways to introduce Shelter, Inc. is to share with you their vision. Shelter, Inc. rebuilds lives one family at a time by helping them reestablish a home and assisting with the skills and resources needed to live the life they deserve. I cannot imagine what it's like to live through this time of year without proper shelter and essential services. But the reality is, particularly as I travel through my own neighborhood and other parts of the Bay Area, many people are living with as little as a tarp or tent to shelter them from the rain and cold. I had the pleasure of delivering this week the holiday gifts that you generously provided, both for Shelter, Inc. and Hope Solution families. Yesterday, I was told by my Shelter, Inc. contact that they were able to provide gifts for over 600 individuals. Let us remember that the services Shelter, Inc. provides needs our support year-round. These services include finding individuals' families temporary housing and ultimately a permanent place to call home. In addition, Shelter, Inc. also provides education, training, counseling, and goal planning that are vital to the success of regaining and maintaining a home. So I'm asking you to give generously to Shelter, Inc. so they can continue to provide these vital services to our community. Please note Shelter, Inc. on your envelopes and checks today when you donate. Also, for those of you that cannot give today, please send a check to MDUUC office noting the contribution for Shelter, Inc. Finally, I would like to send a shout out to Mary Fenelon at home today for keeping us all aware of this most important human need in our community. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Indigo Lewis, and I serve this congregation as the Director for Lifespan Religious Education. And I'm in a different part of the church right now. I'm in the galley with some friends who are joining me here. And our story this morning is called The Drum. And it is a reflection on the joy that unexpected gifts can bring. When we give a gift, we never know quite what will come of that gift. And I'm going to give you an example. This is a story from India. Once, in India, there was a boy who wanted nothing more than to have a drum. His mother wanted nothing more than to give him one, and though she worked long and hard every day, she could not afford to buy him one. She could barely afford to buy the food they needed. But one day as she walked home after working at the market, she was feeling especially sorrowful that she couldn't give her son what he wanted. But as she walked, a stick caught her eye. She bent down to pick it up, and when she got home, she gave it to her son, saying, "This is for you. It's the best I can give you. I wish it were a drum." The boy was happy with the stick. "Thank you, Amma," he said, and immediately began to tap his stick on a pot in their yard. Tirakiti-ta-da, tirakiti-ta-da, tirakiti-ta-da. He hit the fence as he walked by and carried on down the road, dancing to his drum beat. Before long, he came upon a neighbor who sat outside by her cooking fire with tears streaming down her face. "What's wrong?" asked the boy, full of concern. "It's my fire. My wood is too wet, and I can't light it." The boy looked at his stick. It was dry. He gave it to the woman, and her fire flared up immediately, and before long, she was able to bake the naan bread she'd been preparing. She thanked the boy and gave him a loaf. "Thank you," said the boy, but he wasn't hungry, so he waved the naan a little as he walked, in time, to the drum beats that continued in his head. Tirakiti-ta-da, tirakiti-ta-da. Before long, he was passing by the potter's house, and outside the baby was wailing. "What is wrong?" asked the boy. "We haven't sold a single pot this week," answered the baby's mother, "so I haven't been able to buy any food." Well, the boy looked at the naan bread. "Here, have this. I'm not hungry," he said. Well, the baby stopped crying, and the woman was so grateful she reached for a pot. "Here, have this one," she said. "No one seems to want to buy large pots these days." Well, okay, the boy thanked her, and he hoisted it to his head to carry on, and now he could tap his drum beat on the side of the pot as he walked along. Tirakiti-ta-da, tirakiti-ta-da. Before long, the boy came to the river, where he saw some folks quarreling. "What is the matter?" asked the boy. "Well, we broke our pot. We don't know what to do. Without it, we can't scrub our clothes properly." Well, the boy looked at the pot. "Here, take this. I don't really need it." And they were so grateful, they gave him a coat. It was a beautiful coat, embroidered with designs and inlaid with mirrors. Yeah, but the boy wasn't cold, so he slung it over his shoulders, and the drum beats continued in his head again as he carried on down the road. Tirakiti-ta-da, tirakiti-ta-da. Now, before long, the boy came to a bridge, and he noticed a man shivering beneath the bridge, almost with no clothes on. The man explained that he had been robbed. "Well, please take my coat," said the boy, as he gave it to the man. And that man was thrilled. He pointed to his horse that was grazing nearby. "You know, I can't ride or care for my horse anymore. Would you want to take it as a token for my gratitude?" Oh, that boy was pleased indeed, but he didn't know how to ride a horse, so he just simply led it along the way. Now he could hear his drum beats and the horse's hoof steps, and I bet you know how they went. Tirakiti-ta-da, tirakiti-ta-da. Before long, though, he came to a forest. A bridegroom, his parents, and a group of wedding musicians sat underneath some trees. They looked really unhappy. "What is wrong?" asked the boy. "Well, the groom can't go to his wedding unless he rides on horseback, and the auspicious hour for the wedding is soon here, but his horse has not arrived." Well, the boy led his horse over. "Please, take mine." And the family was very grateful. "What can we give you in return?" Oh, now the boy could see that the musicians had more than one drum. "Might I have one of those?" "Of course," they replied. And now the boy walked home, beating the drum. Tirakiti-ta-da, tirakiti-ta-da. "Mother," he called out, "look, the stick you gave me has become a drum." And with that, I would like to invite Mark to sing our children and youth out to their activities.
Good morning, folks. My name is Peter Morse, and my pronouns are he and him. And I'm old, so I need glasses to read. So I'm going to address kind of the term gay and what gay kind of has meant to me over the course of my life. Yes, being gay is not always happy and joy-filled, as the word gay might attest. And the term has always flummoxed me. As a child, I was aware of the word, especially in Xmas songs, don we now our gay apparel, that. It's rather ironic that a human attribute such as my homosexuality is termed gay when a significant portion of the broader human community really sees my homosexuality as hostile. I knew I was gay from my sexual awakening at the age of about 12, and this knowledge messed big time with my happiness, and it was downright tormenting. For example, how awkward is it to fall for your very young driver's ed instructor with that ever so 1970s bristly mustache? Because I was desperately aching to be heteronormative, this and other deeply personal infatuations were all-consuming, emotionally stunting, and no surprise, unrequited. Much of my mid and late teens were neither inwardly joyful, happy, or gay. When many teens are testing what it means to be relational and either experiencing swoonful joy or dramatic heartache, my tact was learning emotional numbness. For me, being a closeted gay teen was generally the polar opposite of happy and literally Plutonian, as in non-existent when linked to joyfulness. Well, while I was aware of same-sex attraction, I was also aware of the marginalizing by my peers of those deemed homo or queer. My peers included those in my very hetero Boy Scout troop. And given my emotionally stunted sense of self, I saw being gay as dreadfully wrong for me. Clearly being homo was no road to happiness. Being queer just could not fit into my personal narrative, which required that I couple with a woman, not some fellow with that bristly mustache. My future narrative was to teach school, marry a woman, and have kids. I surely could not let my own sexual orientation or my desires to dictate otherwise. This decision was made at a time when the Briggs Initiative, and if you were here in the early 70s in California, you might remember that homophobe, was a proposition, put on the ballot a proposition to prohibit homosexuals from teaching. Although it didn't pass, it was awfully effective at closing my closet door. In addition to the outward pressure from Briggs and Boy Scouts, I had an untoward perception of what it means to be gay. Unfortunately, my view of a gay man was much like the Joanne Worley character on that seminal hit TV comedy hour called Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Her character, Joanne Worley, was loud, flamboyant, and brassy. Her drag was drag. As a Boy Scout, I just never felt I could don a feather boy or boa and be loud and brassy. After leaving high school, I was relieved of my adolescent emotional torment and moved to college. For my entire undergraduate program, I surprisingly kept my emotional life numbly in check and effectively feigned being straight. I even happily had a girlfriend and a somewhat fulfilling physical relationship. Ta-da! I was cured. After college, she and I even moved to New Mexico, me to work as a ranger, kind of like an adult Boy Scout, and she to continue her art studies. But closeted boy meets girl would come, of course, to an end, but not because I came out. I moved to Eugene, Oregon to enter grad school with her cat. She decided to stay in New Mexico without her cat. That coulda, shoulda been the end of my straight charade. But I wasn't ready for such self-honesty. Also, this was the early 1980s, and sadly, HIV/AIDS was beginning its deadly march across the globe. Thus, with a somewhat broken heart, I left Eugene, and fully aware I lost my beard, I moved to the Bay Area and landed a job with a heteronormative and male-dominant U.S. Geological Survey. Well, you know, what should happen by being immersed with a bunch of straight men in an institution like the USGS? After 6 years of feigning heterosexuality, I fell for another hopelessly straight man. To mess up even more, I concurrently suffocated those feelings with a number of serial girlfriends. Ugh. This was a heavy and heartless ugh, and it left me considering self-harm. Not so much to cut my life short, more like to cut the gay out of me. A depressive state fogged and dogged me for months until my last girlfriend, a really delightful woman, whose heart I really messed with, directed me to a gay mental health clinic in San Francisco. When I went to the first group therapy session with other gay men, I learned my untoward fear of having to wear a feather boa, much like Joanne Whirling, was a choice, not a requirement. That one lesson in March of 1986, at that session, it was like a lightning bolt to my heart and head that quickly ignited self-acceptance. In addition, it was in this group that I joyfully met Christopher Carter. In May 1986, Chris and I began dating, and our first morning together was white light, pure joy. That morning, at his San Francisco apartment, as he headed off to work, I straightened his tie at the top of the stairs. And I, Tyler, headed to work at the USGS in Menlo Park. It was a heady, happy, joy-filled bliss that I realized I could be both gay and Scout. And with happiness and joy in our minds and hearts, come, let us worship together.
We invite you to rise in body or spirit. And let's join in singing in our heads and active listening as we sing of hope and joy. As we sing of hope and joy today, some know only anguish and despair. How can we lift our voices in this way, while some have pain and misery to spare? Let this song our greatest hopes contain, laughter of our wealth and child's tune, roofs over every heartbeat, its refrain, its symphony from peaceful cities Sing of joy while hammering each nail. Sing of hope while rolling every wheel. Oh, shall we sing together and prevail? May every hallelujah bear us Thank you.
This is the time in our service when we take into the loving heart of this congregation those joys and sorrows that are too great to bear alone. Last week, I announced the death of our beloved longtime member, Mary Smits, and This week, on Wednesday, the Elder Journey community, of which Mary was a very dedicated member, will hold an informal circle of remembrance for Mary that you can access either here on campus or by Zoom. Mary had requested that there not be a formal celebration of her life, and her family will be honoring that wish, but we will have the address for her family in the next beacon for you to send cards to as well. So we're just honoring Mary this morning. We are also honoring the life of Matthew Taylor, a seminarian of African descent who was taken too early this week in death. And Matthew was connected to so many people in the drum community across the country and also the Star King community. So this morning we are lighting a candle holding in our hearts especially Michael Macias and Meg Richardson from the Star King community. Sam Hamilton asks that we light 2 candles, one for joy and one for sorrow. We're glad to have Sam here today. That's a joy for us. Sam writes, "My joys are that despite my many mental illnesses and a horrible 2021, I'm functioning better than I ever have. And my sorrow is that my fiance and I are taking a break, and I miss them dearly." Rodney Lemery is lighting a candle. He's actually lighting a candle for him, a candle of joy. He says, "Having celebrated the birthday of my husband, Errol Reyes, this past Friday, it was a joyous time celebrating the life of Errol as family and friends expressed their gratitude to Errol for his life of love and inspiration. Here's to many more." That deserves applause. We can. And I'm asking Rodney to light 2 final candles. One holds the joys and sorrows that are unexpressed here, but which we also take into the sanctuary of our loving heart. And the second holds our hopes and dreams for this one imperfect but beloved world of which we are a part.
So now is the time in our service where we would normally collect our thoughts and spirits together in a form of meditation or prayer. And I'm going to try and hold it together today, but I'm going to be honest, I may not be able to, because I've been doing a lot of reflecting on what happiness and joy is, and I really hope to share a lot of that with you today. But my research has brought me to that of Dr. Brené Brown and her book, Daring Greatly. In it, she talks about how we can change our innate human tendency to ruin our own joy. Whew. Her scientific studies on the human condition show that a key to that is gratitude. She states, Gratitude, therefore, emerged from the data as the antidote to foreboding joy. Foreboding joy. From the research, the way to cultivate a joyful life is to actually practice gratitude, which can be much harder than it sounds. We can't just say, okay, I'm going to be more grateful today. It has to be more than just a change in simple attitude, but rather a shift in our daily actions. She suggests that we need to adopt tangible practices of gratitude. She suggests that the data suggested that when we focus on good things, that we are more open to receiving joy instead of immediately foreboding it with negative thoughts. And Lord knows we have enough negativity around us. When we get into the practice of daily gratitude, we can become more resilient when bad things happen, because we know they will. In a sense, what we and the data are suggesting is that we find our own lightning bolts, our own Chris Carters, our own drums. And we do that with intention and practice. So today, for those of us who are on campus, we will be taking the next 3 to 4 minutes together to write thank you notes to a friend, a family member, a colleague, a community member, your barista, I don't care, anyone. Anyone that has made a difference in your life this week, this month, this year. Each of us in this room and beyond, you joining us virtually, we all deserve to cultivate joy in our own lives. In fact, we need it. So these simple thank you notes are a practical way for all of us to get in touch with gratitude. Gratitude that builds and it sustains our internal joy, because we need them. We are complex human beings. For those of us watching at home right now, or perhaps watching this later, we will keep these gratitude postcards in the drawer in the front of the office building marked gratitude. You can drop by and pick one up. I'm even thinking of some creative way we might start a gratitude garden virtually online. Check your Thursday emails. I know 45 of you are. So I can see the stats. And I'm grateful for it. But today, if you are virtually with us, please enjoy the slideshow. And when you are done writing your own thank you note, enjoy the slideshow and the wonderful improvisations of our amazing musicians this morning as we try and cultivate a little gratitude in our own hearts. If you need pens, ushers have them. So it's with gratitude in our hearts that we continue with this service. And thank you all for being here, and what amazing, joyful music.
Ready
Hello, my name is Andrew Oswald, and I serve on your Board of Trustees. My pronouns are he and him. It is a time of the year when many of us are thinking about giving and receiving. We have received a lot from MDUC, especially in these challenging times, in the form of programming, spiritual nourishment, and fellowship to keep us going. And we have given a lot, including time, money, and love to keep the church going. For today's call for the offering, I'm simply going to quote Maya Angelou. When we give cheerfully and accept gratefully, everyone is blessed. Please give how you can today. The ushers will now collect the in-person offering. If you're attending remotely or giving later, you can also do so online at mduc.org/give. Thank you. And now let us dedicate our offering with the words on the screen. For the work of this community in transforming ourselves and our world, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings.
In the Christian calendar, this week is the third week of the celebration of Advent. The word Advent comes from the Latin adventus. I am no Latin scholar, that's what Google tells me. I'm told it means arrival or coming. It's a contemplative time in the faith, the Christian faith, where Christians are asked to wait on the promises of God. It's a time of reflection and anticipation for the arrival of the promises of hope, faith, joy, and love born in a baby named Jesus. The third Sunday of Advent, now this, stick with me, I was a Baptist, not a Catholic. This third Sunday of Advent is called Gaudete Sunday, and it's reserved for rejoicing in the anticipation of Christmas. That's why we light the joy candle during the third Sunday of Advent. And while we as a faith movement, at least many of us, have moved away from the high Christology of the Christian religion, we too can celebrate the joy for the anticipation of something coming to change our world. Now, when I speak of joy, I'm talking about deep-rooted wells of emotional fortitude, not fleeting moments of laughter, smiles, or other forms of what we call happiness. There is a big difference between being happy and being joyful. Catholic priest and theologian Henry Nouwen described the difference between joy and happiness in his many writings. He offered that while happiness is dependent on external conditions, joy was better defined and described as the experience of knowing that you are unconditionally loved and that nothing, sickness, failure, emotional distress, oppression, poverty, war, or even death itself can take that love away. Thus, joy can be present even in the midst of great sadness. Joy is, in fact, what my grandmother was talking about when she quoted the Hebrew scriptures to me in times of deep sadness or trouble in our family. She would always quote Psalms 30, verse 5. Weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. Now, perhaps theological definitions aren't your cup of tea, and you prefer a more secular definition. For this, we turn to the Bible of logophiles or word lovers, Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Happiness is defined as a state of being, while joy is defined as the emotion evoked by well-being, success or good fortune, or by the prospect of possessing your desires. These are similar definitions, but there are some very important key differences. Even with these secular definitions, we see Henry Nouwen's words, that happiness is fleeting. It's a state of well-being or a satisfying experience. Happiness is based on what happens to us. It does not come from who we are. It is temporary and circumstantial, and we may not always be able to feel happy. But Henry Nouwen tells us that we can always experience joy, because joy is different from happiness. It is not temporary, nor is it circumstantial. It doesn't depend on what's going on around you, but rather it comes from within. It's the positive attitude that comes from feeling connected to yourself and your worth and your love, or better yet, coming to you via a connection of something bigger than yourself, like us, a community, a caring space, a tight-knit group of friends or family, or even God. Much like the words of my grandmother, I need joy so that I can endure the terrible times of weeping in my life. Now, all of this information may prompt us to reflect on what drives us in life. If we spend all of our time and energy just trying to be happy, which, let's face it, is what the world tends to drive us to do, I think we're missing the point. However, if instead our goal is to cultivate joy within our lives, we are acknowledging in some way or fashion a commitment to seek something better, bigger, much better than just simple self-satisfaction and fleeting experiences. As we reflect this Sunday on the promises of things to come, I believe that the deeper understanding that joy is something intentionally cultivated is definitely in right alignment with our Unitarian Universalist values, namely our value and deep-held conviction of creating heaven on earth. Unlike our Christian neighbors or those who are in our midst, we are not waiting for a messianic promise to appear, swaddled in clothing in a manger. But rather, we are reminded to set our hearts on the hope, faith, joy, and love our own hands can bring. In these holiday times, we so often hear the phrase, "It's so much better to give than receive." While this sentiment is lovely, the science shows that doing good for others really does have a positive effect on our own mental health. In one recent study I found, a group that practiced pro-social behaviors, which were intentional acts of kindness, like our gratitude ritual this morning, and another group, a comparative group, prioritized self-oriented habits, and both of those groups were followed for 4 weeks. What was the result? Acts of kindness led to higher levels of psychological well-being and positive emotions. Just like today's ritual of thanks, we can recharge our joy banks through our own works and efforts. These days are difficult and frustrating for all of us. I am talking to a room full of people who are probably tired of masks. We all are. Frustrating. And yet, we charge our joy tanks because they're necessary. We deserve and need all the joy that we can find for these days ahead. I invite you to find all of those acts of kindness and practices of gratitude that warm your divine light so that you can keep it aflame. Here now are words from Henry Nouwen. Joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day. So happy Gaudete Sunday, and may we all choose to rejoice through our own service to each other so that we may be glad on this day and every day.
I'm going to invite you to rise in body or spirit. And please don't sing out loud, but sing inside your head. This is a good one to clap along.
As we extinguish our chalice, may the light of it kindle the flame in our own hearts so that we may know hope, faith, joy, and love until we meet again.